All right, welcome back to hour two. Tim, let's jump into Patreon message real quick, and then we're going to get into the PFF preview for the Seattle Seahawks game coming up here. Okay, I'm trying to multitask, but it's tough. Let me tell you, when you got a Kentucky education like me, bub, it's you struggle to keep up with more than one thing at once. So let's go to the Patreon group. If you guys want to join our Patreon group, scan the QR code in the upper right, send you to patreon.com/Packer Fan Total Access, or you can just go to patreon.com, search Packer Fan Total Access, and you can join one of three tiers in there. It gives you access to our chats. This is one of the chats. We put y'all directly to the front of the line when you want to ask questions, the same as we do with Super Chats. So Trevor Anderson said, let's see. You said it's hard to beat the same team twice in a year, but the Packers make it look easy against the Bears. Laughing emoji.
The Bears still suck.
Yeah, Podunk University can make it easy beating the Bears twice a year, right? But again, I'm going to be interested to see who they hire. We may be worried in the offseason, but right now we're definitely not worried about the Bears. They seem to be in shambles as it sits right now. Nebraska Rev in the Patreon group says, give me your thoughts on this. It's clear that our big dogs on offense are Josh Jacobs, Tucker Kraft, Jaden Reed, Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs. I feel like if those guys are available, they should have the targets in the passing game. To me, these are our playmakers. In crunch time, think play or not play. It feels like crunch time. I would like to see a focus on these five weapons and not trying to get the ball to double-digit targets. Brooks and Wilson still need to get reps in the running game. Obviously, you want to keep Josh Jacobs healthy as you get into the playoffs and all that good stuff. So you want to lean on them as much as possible. Here's the thing with it, Nebraska Rev. You got to have those players on the field, right? If you want them to get the targets. The targets don't go – I'm going to explain what I know isn't happening. They're not looking up and halfway through the game and the coaching staff going – and I'm not saying you're saying this. I'm just kind of thinking out loud. They're not going, all right, Romeo's only got one target. We got to get him another target. And Tucker's only got – they're making adjustments throughout the game based off what the defense is showing them, right? They're showing a lot of Tampa 2. Hey, let's make sure we're walking out a 2 or a 3 and hammering digs on the backside. They're showing a lot of cover 3 hard flat. All right, let's make sure we're mixing in some outs to Romeo. That's how they're attacking this. The other thing, too, guys get banged up in the game, and they may miss a series or two because they get a little banged up and then they come back in the game. The coaching staff isn't going to go, oh, man, we really like to hit Romeo on that out, and he's not available now. Let's go away from that. No. They're just in the flow of the game.
You're going to hit Bo Melton on that out now.
Exactly.
Next guy up. That's how it works. And you know what? To your point, Jordan is saying the same thing pre-snap and post-snap on the field. Mm-hmm. He's not thinking, I've got to find 87 or I've got to find 9 right now. You're looking at your route tree, you're looking at your coverage, and you're trying to just hit a guy in stride. That's all you're trying to do.
Yeah, and the other thing, too, what is a realistic thing, a very real thing, is in the past, I've heard coaches and players talk about going into a game plan that week. Hey, so-and-so hasn't got many touches. It's important for us to get him involved early, right? We want to get him involved in the game plan early so he kind of gets into the flow of the game. That's a real thing. So you come out in your openers and you go, okay, man, Romeo really hasn't touched the ball much here lately. Or in this case, let's say Jaden Reed, right? You've seen defenses really clamping down on Reed, and that's why Christian Watson has emerged. That's what you're looking for. First quarter of the year last year, we struggled because we were constantly trying to force the ball to Christian Watson. We start checking it down to Reed. Now all of a sudden Watson becomes open, and that becomes easier a little later in the year. Yep. But what they will do going into a game plan is, all right, we got to get Jaden Reed more touches. Okay, cool. What do they do defensively? All right, they like to play quarters coverage, just theoretically speaking. All right, they like to play quarters. Let's come out with some trips looks. Let's go bunch, run a little switch release. Let's get Jaden on a couple shallows early. All right, so let's walk out that quarters coverage, and let's get him on some shallows early. Maybe you mix in a jet sweep. Maybe you mix in a smoke screen or like that RPO flat, those type of things. You want him to feel involved so he doesn't just kind of get lulled to sleep not being a part of the game plan. That's a real thing. Yep. But in the heat of the battle, we talk about it, the phases of the game. The first quarter, you're gathering information. The second quarter and into the third is all about controlling the momentum through the middle eight, and then the fourth quarter is a standalone game. That's how that whole thing operates. And I promise you, when you're trying to control the middle eight, there's nobody on that sideline going, man, we really need to get Tucker Kraft involved here. They're going, hey, whatever we got to do to get in the end zone here and keep them out of it coming out of halftime to control this middle eight, that's the most important aspect. That and producing and limiting explosive plays. So
yep. I think that might have been Rev's point too. Kind of like what, with this whole statement is like, that's what this staff is probably looking at. You're game planning for Seattle right now. Of course, you're going to be thinking about making sure Jaden Reed touches the ball because he barely touched the ball last week. Those are things you work into your game plan. But like once you're in between the lines and the clock's running, you're in the heat of the moment. You're right. You're calling plays, and you can't fixate on personnel too much because, like you said, a game ebbs and flows. Guys get their toe stepped on, or they twist a finger or an ankle, or they got to come out for a play, or they might miss a whole series. We were talking about Rashawn earlier not being on the field on that last play in Detroit. We don't know why. There could be a multitude of reasons that Rashawn wasn't out there. Guys have equipment issues too. Isn't that frustrating? Trying to get a target to a guy and his shoe won't stay tied, or he's got a helmet issue and he's got to come off the field. You can't overly focus on specific personnel. You've got to win as a team. That's why we have all these dudes out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love what he said there too, Nebraska Rev, saying Brooks and Wilson still need to get reps in the run game. It's going to be huge. Like if you find yourself in a situation where you got a decent lead, and, when I say decent lead, it might be a 10-point lead. All right, let's pull away from Jacobs a little bit and kind of, all right, we don't want to overwork him as we get closer to the playoffs because he's been a workhorse this year, man.
Yeah. And Brooks and Wilson have proven that they can handle the load.
Bingo.
Totally. You don't feel concerned at all about handing the ball off to either one of those guys at this point. You shouldn't be concerned. Yeah.
Definitely. Wilson, I think, is graded out as the 9th highest graded running back in the league, according to PFF. His yards per carry is decent. Brooks has shown that he's an asset in the passing game, whether it's pass pro or catching the ball out of the backfield. We've actually put him in a
runner too, though. I think he doesn't get a lot of credit as a runner. We've seen him lower the boom on more than one occasion. So it's fun to watch.
And coming out in a pony package and using him as the lead blocker a couple times. That was really interesting, right? So that's where Matt LaFleur thinks very highly of Chris Brooks. It's almost like he's a lighter version of our use check, right? How they use use check. So you're kind of seeing a little bit of that.
It's like LaFleur gets a fullback without having a fullback, now and then.
Exactly.
I love it.
Again, shout out to our Patreon groups. We appreciate you guys. Everybody who's a member of one of those 3 tiers will be put on the wheel that we're going to spin during the postgame show to give away an autographed Lucas Van Ness jersey. So make sure you join that as soon as possible if you want to get in that. And also that the same thing applies to our YouTube members. Okay, so if you just rather, hey, I'm not familiar with Patreon, I'd like to support on YouTube, just make sure you're a member by midnight Saturday night going into Sunday morning, and we'll make sure your name's on that wheel to give away that autographed Lucas Van Ness jersey. So, all right, let's jump into a little Seahawks preview here, Tim. Let's start off with personnel. It's one thing to look at the players on their roster, but you really want to understand, as we're on to Seattle, want to understand what they try to do offensively, okay? We've been playing a lot of teams here lately that mix in a lot of 12 personnel and even 21 to where you're only seeing 11 personnel on the field, anywhere from 55 to 65% of the time. This week's different, guys. Seattle Seahawks are in 11 personnel 76.2% of the time. What that means is they're going to be in 3 wide receiver sets, triggering our nickel defense, our nickel 4-2-5, a large majority of the day. They're only in 12 personnel 16% of the time. Okay. And then it's scattered about with 13, which is typically your goal line situations. They got 1.6 for uncharted, and they run a little bit of 21, only 1.4% of the time. So to put that in perspective, if there were 100 defensive snaps for the Packers in this game coming up, 76 of them would be 11 personnel if they stick to the same MO of how they want to attack our defense, the way they have all year long. So, Tim, you're going to see a lot of nickel this week, man, a lot of nickel defense. That really doesn't surprise me. It's funny, too, like when Shane Waldron left Seattle, this was what they did. They really like to spread things out. And Shane Waldron was one of those people that he's a part of the Shanahan tree and the McVay tree. I always talked about he's a part of the McVay tree more than the Shanahan tree in the sense that they like to run a lot of 11 personnel. People were expecting Matt LaFleur to do what Kyle Shanahan did. And obviously we pointed out when we started doing the podcast, we're not running Shanahan's offense. We're running McVay's offense, right? Yep. And although they're from the same tree, Shanahan likes to press into 21 as where McVay likes to press into 11 and 12 over 21, obviously. So you're seeing a good mix of it this year as Matt LaFleur is getting creative. But what do you think about Seattle and how they attack here? You're going to see a lot of nickel this week, man.
I think our secondary better be tuned up. This is a great week to get Ja Money back out there. Hopefully he's back to his old self out there. But we're going to need it. It's going to be all hands on deck. They've got some stud receivers there in Seattle. And again, you cannot sleep on Geno Smith. He might be underrated as a quarterback in this league, I think. So, secondary's got to be on point, but it starts up front, right? We got to win in the trenches. If we can get pressure with 4 consistently, that's going to help us in the long run for sure. And then you dial up that occasional blitz, Yeah,
definitely. Holmes in the chat, Ja should play. That's the way I see it trending. Unfortunately, I don't think there's any chance that Bullard plays. I could be wrong. But has he been officially listed as out yet, Tim? I don't think he has.
I don't know. I don't think I. Let
me see.
You have to refresh my memory on that.
Let's see if we find him. Javon Bullard, with the ankle, did not participate. I don't think there's a chance he plays this week. So what you're probably going to see happen is Keyshawn Nixon kick into the slot. You're going to have Jair on the outside, and you're going to have, as Matt LaFleur said, that rotation is going to continue with Eric Stokes and Carrington Valentine. Don't shoot the messenger. Okay, I'm Team Valentine in that. I'd rather see him get the majority of the meaningful reps, but coaching staff sees something.
One play from Stokes is all it's going to take. All will be forgiven. Just make a damn play, please.
It's got to be a big one.
A pick, a tackle, something, please.
My man went over 1,000 snaps without touching a football. That's you know me. I like to build people up on here. I don't like to tear them down, but my gosh. That's rough. It's the people that will come at me and go, hey, defend him now. I can't. You got me beat down right now.
And that's what I'm looking for out of him. You got to figure a guy like Stokes is auditioning for his next job right now, right? You'd think he'd want to maximize every snap he's getting, and whether that's somewhere else or it's another 1-year deal in Green Bay or something. Who knows? We know we're not picking up the option on him. The writing's on the wall. We all think this is pretty much his last year in Green Bay. It'd be nice to just see him play some real solid ball for us down the stretch, if anything, to help his own career path out moving forward. He's a younger player. I mean, he's been through a lot of injuries, and he's been readily available this year for the most part. It's just we're not seeing the execution out there, and this would be the game. This would be the game to do it, man. Tyler Lockett, you've got DK Metcalf, you got some dogs out there that we're going to have to be responsible for in the secondary. So be a great time for Stokes to step up. Yeah.
Nick McSwain in the chat said if they can handle Waddle and Tyreek Hill without Ja, they should be able to stop the Seahawks wide receivers with him. I agree. Theoretically speaking, just kind of on the surface, yeah, you're right. You're in a better situation this week than we were going and playing Miami. The difference is we were playing Miami at home in the cold, and we know how the Dolphins have stunk in the cold. In this game, we're going up to Seattle in the rain. Now, again, I'm not trying to be negative, but let's tell the whole story, right? That playoff game last year we lost to the 49ers. It's in the rain, all right? The game that we lost to Detroit at Lambeau this year was in the rain.
Yep.
We're going to Seattle to play potentially in the rain is what it sounds like. I'm not saying it's doom and gloom. I'm just saying we got to be aware of that. And I guarantee you Coach LaFleur's got those guys practicing handling the wet ball and obviously practice out in cold in Green Bay and just trying to get them ready for the elements if indeed it does rain in Seattle. Hopefully we don't get a drop of rain and we're good to go, right? No one likes weather games more than this dude right here. I'm a sucker for it, but I want the Packers to win too. So you gotta take those things into consideration, man. You really do. So, all right, let's see. I think that's a great point by Nick, though. I wanted to highlight that. Nick is a great point.
Sure.
We handled two much better receivers, obviously, in Waddle and Hill. Shout out to Jeffrey Coleman, just became a member on YouTube. Appreciate you, buddy. We'll make sure your name is on the wheel for us giving away the autographed Lucas Van Ness jersey. And we spin that sucker on the post-game show. We'll make sure you're on there, buddy. Thank you for supporting the show. Nick McSwain says they always say they want to put the best players on the field, but when someone clearly wins the competition, they don't put them on the field. Competition is good, but got to put the winner in the game. I can see your frustration there, Nick. I think there's a little truth to that. I do. And again, I know it's a boring stance on this conversation. Probably going to get a lot more clicks, a lot more views, a lot more reaction if someone is very passionate about their stance. I'm just not that dude. I'm going to always revert back to These coaches know way more than me, right? If you were asking me, hey, who would you put out there? I would want Carrington Valentine out there the large majority of the snaps. I would actually rather see a little Kalen King over Eric Stokes. That's just me personally. But they see something, They see something for sure. So
yep.
we'll see what they decide for sure. Let's see, Crossfire Clay. I've always thought Kentucky was an interesting area on the map. Does your hometown have any good Appalachian legends of any kind? Bigfoot migration goes down there. You ever see one? Man, this just took a turn.
Cue the conspiracy.
Let me tell you about my Bigfoot. No, I'm just kidding.
The
thing about the Appalachian Mountains, like my folks came over. I'm a mutt, first of all. I got everything in me from Hungarian to Scottish Irish to Dutch to a little bit of Native American, a little bit of Cherokee. Like I am the definition of a mutt.
Here's a guy.
So here's a guy it ain't a good thing. We'll just say that. All right, we're a little mixed up as a group, but the thing about the Irish settlers, and there was a lot of different settlers that came through, Italians, and everyone came through and settled that area. But of the Irish people, Irish is big on folklore, right? They're big on ghost stories. Like you guys hear like the Headless Horseman,
yep.
Sleepy Hollow and all that. That originated through Irish lore back in Scotland and Ireland. So it's just kind of a part of their tradition. So with that being said, all those people settling in that area, of course, you got your ghost stories, and he's mentioning Bigfoot and this and that. It's a part of the area for sure. Now, I will say this. I've taken a couple buddies home from Knoxville, city folk. Hey, I want to see where you're from. All right, let's go, man. We'll go back home and hang out with the crew. And they come in and go, what the hell? You guys go up in these mountains like this? Like you don't know what's up there, right? It's an interesting place. The mountains are home. There's no doubt, man. No doubt about it. But it's funny you bring that up. There's all kinds of stories, obviously. If you're asking me, I have never seen anything, but I'm a boring individual. I did a lot of camping and a lot of partying as a youngster in those mountains, a lot of dirt biking. I've not seen anything. Heard stories, but never seen anything. So there you go, man. I wish we had the conspiracy music still, Tim. We cue that up.
It's a conspiracy. They took it away from us.
Exactly. There it is, Nick McSwain. What happened to the conspiracy drop? You got to be careful, man. YouTube won't tell you what you can and can't do, so you got to be really careful. That was my favorite part, though, was just Jacob being highlighted in it, and then, of course, having the UFO at the end. But so we need to do like a late night show one night and just let the chat control the conversation and jump into a bunch of conspiracies. That'd be fun, wouldn't it?
Oh, man.
Yeah, we'd probably be banned a week later. They're spreading misinformation. But Holmes hit the nail on the head. This show sucks. Yes, it does. And we appreciate y'all hanging out for it, for sure. There you go. Andy said you always got to say for entertainment purposes only. There you go.
Yes. So, allegedly.
All right, back to the Seahawks there. We just lost some subs, I'm sure, but again, we're going to hit what the chat wants to hit here. Carl K says Seattle weather should have rain all week, but game time has the least. It could be worse. There you go. Hey, I like the positivity, Carl. Hopefully it doesn't rain, right? That would be ideal for sure. We'll look at the weather forecast as we get closer to kickoff, obviously. So, and we will be doing a pregame show about an hour and a half before the game is set to go live. We'll do a pregame show, and then we'll do a postgame show at the butt crack of midnight as we try to stay up and talk about what happened and why it happened. So, Ron Sample points out Geno can run a little bit, but definitely don't want to. I wonder what he's talking about there. Don't want to. Just left this hanging in suspense there, right? Saying he doesn't want to. Is that what he's saying, Tim?
I would think so. I mean, maybe he's thinking about
he's got the ability, but he
yeah.
wants to stay in the pocket.
He'd probably rather stay in the pocket.
That makes sense. Yeah. All right. So that's your personnel preview there. We want to just show they're in 11 personnel a lot. Let's now go and check out the PFF preview from a positional standpoint and personnel wise. Since we know they're going to be in 11 personnel now, Tim, why don't let's go full screen here real quick. Let's really key in on what they want to do. 11 personnel. We're going to go with the Seahawks offense against our nickels. So this is what their 11 personnel looks like according to PFF. Geno Smith, the number 9 highest graded quarterback in the league at an 83.3. The running back Charbonnet is a 73.3. Now they've got Charbonnet in there because I'm pretty sure is it Kenneth Walker is their running back that's injured, Tim? Seemed like that was the case. Let me pull it up real quick.
I think so. Do you got the injury report?
let's see if Walker's on there. Yeah, Kenneth Walker the third. So he's got a calf injury. Did not participate Wednesday or Thursday. Probably a good chance he's at least going to be questionable, a 50-50 shot to play. He'll probably be closer to doubtful. So that
So if they're down a running back, then, maybe to Ron's point, right? Gino may have to do it with his legs.
Yeah,
kind of pick up the slack a little, yeah.
Yeah. So Charbonnet, listen, he's a solid back too, 73.3, the 22nd highest graded running back, especially as a number 2 back. And he's no Emmanuel Wilson sitting in the number 9 spot, you know what I'm saying? But still a good back, solid back for sure. At the tight end position, they got Noah Fant at a 62.6. When it comes to their best weapon this year, according to PFF, it's Jackson Smith and Jigba at 81.0. He is the 16th highest graded receiver this year. Okay, so he's playing solid. They've got him listed as the slot receiver, although Lockett may interchange with that as well.
I'm sitting here worried about Tyler Lockett. I totally forgot about JSN, man. That guy's a weapon for sure.
Yeah. So in terms of what's happened in 2024, JSN is their best receiver. Second best would be DK Metcalf at a 74.6. He's the 35th highest graded wide receiver in the league right now. And then Tyler Lockett sitting at a 67.4. We know he's the veteran of that group, right? He's the dude that can hurt you with the smarts, obviously. So their receiving core, man, this is why they're in 11 personnel, man. Get your best 11 out there.
Is Metcalf on the injury report? Did he show up? Because I know he had something he dealt with last week.
Let's see. Yeah, DK Metcalf, shoulder injury. So he was full participation on Wednesday, but was downgraded to limited on Thursday. So
yeah,
really
he came back into that game last week. I mean, he blew up that shoulder, went in the locker room and came and finished that game. I believe that's what happened. So I don't know if he had a setback or something, but I'll take a DK Metcalf not at 100%. It's going to give us a better chance.
Definitely. And today, when the injury report drops today, we will be doing a show tonight, PTA Live, 7 p.m. Central. So you guys get ready for that. We'll have that updated injury report.
Friday night show? What?
Yeah, we were going to go to dinner and talk to Manny. Like, you know what? Let's just stay home. So we're going to stay here and talk some ball.
Nice. Friday the 13th edition. I love it.
There you go. I don't know. What could go wrong, right, Tim? So, yeah, DK, keep an eye on that injury report today. If it comes out and he's limited again, good chance he's going to play. But if for some reason he's downgraded to did not participate, he's obviously going in the opposite direction. That could be huge. So let's look at their offensive line, man. They've got, I think that's Charles Cross. Is that right? Yeah, Charles Cross is their left tackle at 82.0 this year. He's gotten better every year since he's been in the league. You know, you hear us talk all the time. If a rookie grades out in the 60s, that's a really good rookie year. Here's a perfect example. In 2022, Charles Cross was a rookie, 63.1. Some would look at that and go, is he really worth the 9th overall pick? Again, that's the measuring stick, according to PFF, that you really want to look at these rookies. If they grade 60 or higher, probably going to be a good pro. He improved in 2023 to a 67.6, and then this year, boom, 82.0, one of the best tackles in the game there at left tackle for the Seahawks. At left guard, they got Tomlinson. He's a 63.9, 38th highest graded guard in the league. Then you got, I can never say this name here. Help me out here, Tim. Let's hear you try it. Just the last name.
Oluwatimi.
Oluwatimi.
Oluwasegun. Oh man, I butchered that.
You did good, Tim. You did really good, man.
I tried my best, man.
So
you're an amazing person. You know that, don't you?
53.1 last year. You improved to a 62.1 this year. Then at right guard, they must be banged up at right guard because anytime you see that dash at the bottom, let's see if they've got a guard that is possibly missing here. Let's just look for guard. Probably Laken Tomlinson, right? No, Laken Tomlinson's their left guard, so we're good there. Who would be their other guard? I wonder if they're potentially missing.
Wow, unless they're just thin at the position.
Could have been one of the tackles that might be playing guard. And he's just listed as a tackle too. Nonetheless, man, their right guard, that seems to be the weak spot, 38.8. What was his snap count? Week 13, his snap count was 38, and then last week it jumped to, is that right? What up a minute? No, there's more than that. That's just a run snap. So total snaps of 50, what would that be? 63 in week 13, and then another 63 in week 14, right?
Yep.
So This is their starting right guard, at least for the moment. But his offensive grade, a 38.8, pass blocking 43.2, run blocking 42.6. So that seems to be, according to PFF, LaMay, is that how you say that, man? LaMay?
Lamea, I think so.
6th-round pick. He seems to be grading out the worst on this line. And then, of course,
Let's go. Luke. Let's send that Mike Fire blitz right up the gut.
Hey, I'm telling you, man.
Pressure on him, baby. Let's go.
And when you send it, have the tackle play the inside shoulder like your one tech, have them attack the center so he can't help, have a wide 9 on that same side, and let that mock fire right into that guard. That's probably the play there. And no better time for Edgerrin Cooper to potentially get back on the field than that, right?
Yes, sir.
Abraham Lucas at right tackle, a 54.3. His pass block grade is a 65.5, but the run block grade is a 51.4. So it seems like this offensive line is kind of built to pass block, Tim. That's what I'm coming up with.
I smell a big game for Bane Gary in this one.
That whole right side, man, unless they put Fan over there to chip or have a running back help chip, you're right, man. You like your matchup there, Gary, over Lucas, if it is a one-on-one matchup for sure. And here's the other thing, too. You can run a TT, right? You could have the defensive tackle on the left side from the defensive perspective over the right guard. Let's say he plays on the outside shoulder of the right guard. Have them run a TE stunt where the tackle will go across the guard's face into the defensive tackle will go over the guard's face into the right tackle, and then have Gary loop around. That you're gonna really test the right guard position there and whether they can pass and recover, right? Pass the block off and recover. So yeah, this could be a big Gary game. I'll tell you something else too, Tim. When LVN comes out of the game and you kick Gary over to the right tackle or the right end position, don't be surprised if you see like a Brenton Cox Jr. or Aaron Mosby come in and play that left end position and dominate too, because sometimes when you spell LVN, they like to put Gary over that right end spot over the left tackle. And I'd like to see what Gary could do against Cross too. That would be fun.
Yeah, that would be great. I'm sure we'll see it at least once or twice.
Yeah, you'll see them mix and match. There's no doubt about that. And what this also says is whoever's playing alongside Kenny Clark, you could also play it in this direction. Put Kenny Clark in the one tech between the center and the left guard, and whoever's playing right in, have him play the outside shoulder of the right guard. I'm sorry, the left defensive tackle on the right shoulder of the right guard, and then put Gary or whoever's at left in on that specific snap out at a wide 9 tech. So you can isolate by putting Kenny in the one tech to occupy Tomlinson and their center. Okay, that's another way that you could attack this too. How cool would it be? Gary plays left in, and they put all the attention to him, and LVN continues to improve. LVN beat Charles Cross. That would be absolutely awesome.
I would love it.
I would like that over a big Gary game, to be honest with you.
Yep.
So that's what their offense is looking like from 11 personnel. When you look at the Packers' defense and where we're ranked right now, Xavier McKinney is the second highest graded safety, only behind Kirby Joseph at 88.0. You got Evan Williams sitting in the 18 spot at 74.7. So the safety position's solid. Jair coming back. He's the 11th highest graded corner at 75.2. They're still showing Nixon on the outside. This is going to be interesting because they got Bullard listed here. We know Bullard most
probably not going to go. Yeah.
I don't see a scenario where he plays. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't know how you go from being on crutches or in a walking boot to all of a sudden playing the next week. But I imagine they're going to kick Nixon to the slot. And if that's the case, then what you've got is Jackson Smith and Jigba versus Keyshawn Nixon for the most part of the day. Okay. I like that matchup. I think that's going to be a lot of fun to watch. It's going to be a good test for Nixon. The only problem is, even though Nixon's been playing in every game, he's going to be rusty at the slot position. He hasn't played it in a few weeks. That's a real thing. So do you think there's a chance that the coaching staff brings in another corner to play slot and lets Nixon stay on the outside? If that's the case, it would have to be Valentine or Stokes, and I just don't see that happening.
I don't either. And they're certainly not going to throw Kalen King out there. I think, if anything, you look at, bringing up another safety. I don't know what KT Oladapo's status is, but, I'd almost feel if you want to keep Keyshawn on the boundary, drop Evan Williams into the slot. Mm-hmm. Take a look at him in slot.
Has he played the slot at all this year? Because that crossed my mind too, but I don't know if he's played. He's played 53 snaps in the slot. Now, we know that sometimes when they walk that safety in the box, they'll be considered a slot defender, even though he's got 77 box snaps. So, he's got 53 there. The other one too, Tim, what if we put McKinney in the slot a little bit. 60. He's got more snaps in the slot than Evan. Of course, he's played more a percentage of the playing time. I don't know, man. It's tough. That's really, really tough. Keyshawn,
I'd almost, considering you've got JSN and you've got Tyler Lockett to deal with over there. I feel better about X staying put at safety in this game, just to be patrolling back there.
Yeah, exactly. They're going to try to stretch the field vertically, right? So you're going to want to have yeah, that's a good point. Matter of fact, I'm going to make a note here, Tim, before I forget. We're going to hit that tonight. On tonight's show, we're going to go NFL Pro, all right? We're going to break out the Seattle tape and look at explosive passes and see what they're doing in the passing game. And that'll kind of help us determine, all right, what do we think we're going to do with X? Because I'm with you. DK Metcalf, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Tyler Lockett, veteran he is, if they try to stretch you vertically and you decide, hey, let's in that when they're in nickel, let's bring down Xavier McKinney as a slot defender, you're making yourself pretty vulnerable in that post-safety position, right? So that's a good point, man.
Yeah, we haven't gotten to see our boy Oladapo, so we don't really know.
Right.
We did get a look at Zane Anderson. Zane Anderson, I thought he played pretty well being thrown into the fire, but I don't know if that's a dude you want to just lean on back there. I would think if they're gonna put him in, you'd think they'd want to keep at least X or Williams back there, at least one of those two. So yeah, I think you're right, Clay. I think they're gonna trust CV and Eric Stokes out there on the boundary, and we just got to keep our fingers crossed.
Yeah,
I think Keyshawn plays the slot. I really do.
Yeah, definitely. And see, Mike in the chat says, I've been waiting for a Big Gary game all season. Maybe this week's the week. It depends on what you mean by big Gary game, bub. He's got 3%. He's got 3% more pressure rate than TJ Watt this year. So
I think what Mike's saying is maybe this is the game we just let Rashawn pin his ears back.
Just
go ahead and blitz, man, or go ahead and just try and pressure that quarterback, man.
You better be careful though, because when we say that, and then Geno Smith's running for 70 yards rushing. I know you're not going to be the one to do this, Tim, but there's going to be fans going, this defense is trash.
Oh, yeah.
So you got to, that's the give and take there, right? You got to pick your spot.
I'll take it. I mean, we could get a big game from McDuff and Quay and Mr. Wilson back there. And, he can run, but he can't hide. And, maybe we get the pass rush there, flush him out of the pocket, and he's got nowhere to go. That's a scenario too.
Little spy there in the middle. So when they do flush him, right? You may get back to that a little bit this week, man. You get to a little touch spy and guard that mid-rush lane. And like you said, walking right into a trap if you pin Gary's ears back, right? I could see that, yeah.
Yep.
It's going to be interesting, man. It's a really cool matchup. It is.
I was just going to say, like, if you're, we're obviously Packer fans, green and gold till we're dead and cold, like I always say. But if you're a football fan, period, you love matchups like this. You know what I mean? I see another competitive, close game. I really do. I don't see a boat race in either direction in this one.
Crossfire says we should get Bigfoot at 3 Tech, and then Holmes confirmed Bigfoot would be a great.
Here's a guy.
There you go, man. That's a Photoshop waiting to happen for sure. All right, we got a few minutes. Let's jump over to the other side of the field and see what our 11 personnel looks like against their nickel. So their nickel defense, Tim, it looks pretty. There's not a bunch of holes in this defense, man. I mean, when you really look at it, they got the 4th highest graded interior defensive lineman in Leonard Williams. They got a true 3 Tech, man. I mean, that's solid, right? 6'5", 302. He was a former first-round pick, obviously. I want to say he was drafted by the Jets. I could be wrong, though. Leonard Williams, who was he drafted by?
You're right. I think it was the Jets.
Seems like I remember him being on the Jets. But anyway, 84.9, man, they are stout there at that 3 Tech, and now they're who appears to play their nose in nickel defense and Draymond Jones. Obviously not as good there to 49.7, but Leonard Williams is going to be one of those Tuesday players you really got a game plan around. Now, as far as their edge defenders, you got Wosu, I think is how you say it, a 66.1, and then you got Boye Mafe, the 33rd highest graded edge defender to 71.5. So he's having a pretty decent season himself there. In terms of their DBs, their slot defender looks pretty good. Devin Witherspoon. He was at 84.1 last year. This year he dropped to a 72.9, but still a pretty solid grade. So might be tough to get Jaden Reed involved. You've got Tariq Woolen on the outside at a 69.9, pretty steady football player there. And on the other side, you got Josh Jobe at a 50.1, not so much. So that's going to be your weak spot that you're going to want to attack.
Let's go, Scoop. Let's go.
And that's the thing. Like, we got to dive into how they like to play defense. Matter of fact, this isn't going to be completely up to date. I think it was through week 13, if I remember correctly. Let's see what they do. So they like to run the majority of the time cover 3 zone. There you go. Very similar to our defense. They're in cover 1 man. However, they are in it. Let me see here. I lost it there a second. Where are you at, Seahawks? Where did you go? How did I lose that? Here we go. 24% of the time they're in cover 1 man. All right. So they're in cover 3 zone 28% of the time. Then they're in cover 1 man 24% of the time. Then they go to cover 4 13% of the time. And then it would be cover 2 zone 12% of the time. Cover 6% of the time. Cover 0 6% of the time. And then cover 2 man 2% of the time. I will say this, man, they're top 10 in how often they run cover 0. So
interesting.
That's really.
I'm looking for Tay Wicks, man. If they're in those cover 3 looks, I'm looking. Let's look for Tay Wicks, man. He has that knack for finding the soft spot.
Yeah, and if Romeo's back this week, and I think we all agree we think he's going to be back, that could be huge too on those digs, right? Digs and outs. For sure. What we mean by that is if they play a cover 2 zone, hammer the out, that 12-yard out route. Right, you can attack the seam too, but again, it's kind of a guessing game on whether they're going to walk a mock or a wheel down the seam in a Tampa look. But you can hammer the outs, and then you can hammer the digs in the cover 3. That's really what you're looking to do. You need some kind of spot aspect underneath to occupy the underneath coverage, and you need a 2 or a 3 to walk the safety out deep third to open up that dig in behind the backers and underneath the safety. So I'm with you. I can see Tay Wicks being that guy. I think Dobbs is could have a big game here too. Now, the fact that they're in zone defense now, if we look at as a whole here, it'd be 28. Let's see, it'd be 30, 40, it'd be 53. So 62% of the time, 62% of their snaps on defense, they're in zone defense. So look for your zone beaters in this game. That's probably what it's going to take, but they will mix in cover 1 man. When they mix in cover 1 man, we use pre-snap and recognize it. Don't be surprised to see a little can at the line of scrimmage and Jordan Love going to a crossers or a mesh look underneath. I can see that being the case. Try to beat that just like last week. So interesting, though, for sure. Let's see, linebackers, Jones, 62.6, not 70.2. Then they got Bryant at strong safety at a 76.3, and I think that's Julian Love. Is that who that is? Yeah, Julian Love. I want to say they signed him as a free agent this year. I was excited about him. It was either this year or last year. I was like, hey, why don't we go try to get Julian Love? He played for Notre Dame. Obviously, I'm an Irish fan, but he's just had a solid career, man. Ever since 2022, 66.7, 72.8, and this year an 80.4, playing really good football.
You can see that. This is what we talk about when you talk about guys and how they develop. This is like an ideal. If you look at that kind of trajectory, he had a really good rookie season, kind of fell off a little, and then he's been steadily improving every year. That's a great example of, kind of how you want a guy to develop. You're going to understand it's not going to be all great all the time, but definitely got to watch for this dude back there.
Yeah, it looks almost like a similar trajectory that Eric Stokes had, except for he graded out in the 60s his rookie year, took a step back, and he just hasn't returned to that form yet,
Mm-hmm.
And again, the injury played a big role for Stokes. But, yeah, Julian Love looked like he's playing his best football, so you got to be aware of that, man. It's going to be tough, man, on the road, the 12th man. It's going to be tough. Just a quick glance at the Packers. I know we talk about them more than anything here. Here's their grades and what they look like. Jordan Love is now a 76.8, the 16th greatest highest graded quarterback in the league as it sits right now. Josh Jacobs, number 3 in the league at a 90.7. Tucker Kraft at tight end, a 65.0. So he is now officially the 28th highest graded tight end in the league. So you're seeing him start to creep up around the 20 mark now, according to PFF. Obviously, he's leading in some categories and right there in the top 5 in pretty much every receiving statistical category when it comes to the tight end position this year in the NFL. Your highest graded receiver is still Jaden Reed at a 71.6, Christian Watson at a 70.1, then Romeo Dobbs at a 65.3. Looking at Watson, so 2022, a 77.1. He took a dip back last year to 68.2, still a decent grade, solid grade. And now we're back up to a 70.1. So you're starting to see him improve. That's really good. I want to see him finish around the 75 mark this year. That would be awesome.
Yep.
And then you got Romeo Dobbs. Obviously, he started a 62.6, blimped to a 73.6 last year, and now he's sitting at a 65.3. If he's healthy, hopefully he can have an impact on this game. As far as offensive lineman, Rasheed Walker, 64.9, Elton Jenkins, 68 or 60.8, Josh Myers, 50.2, Sean Ryan, 58, and then Zach Tom obviously being a stud there at 85.1 at right tackle. So
there's a guy I'm rooting for big time, man. Nacho Libre, Sean Ryan.
Yeah.
He was kind of in the doghouse for a while, but he's really quiet as kept putting together a really solid year this year and continues to trend upward. So hopefully he has a big game.
Well within that top 64 of guards in the league.
Absolutely.
Suggesting he's a starting caliber guard, So it makes sense why they've put him in so much for sure.
Ron Sandville said Spoon said there's a chance that Edgerrin Cooper plays.
That's what I'm talking about, man.
Well, it's must read article there. I'm gonna be checking that one out for sure.
Yeah, so keep in mind when we were kind of highlighting some of the Packers defense, we didn't talk about the linebackers much. It's showing McDuffie as a starter in the nickel, but if you can get Cooper out there for 50% of the snaps, that's better than nothing. Heck, even 30% of the snaps. You want to do a Will or a Mike Fire, get him in there, and let's get after Geno like we were talking about. Kind of trying to take advantage of the right side of that interior offensive line would be huge. So,
for sure, I'd like to see a little edge coop spy action, right? Mix that in a little bit. You can go ahead and run if you want.
Definitely. All right, guys, that's it. We're going to get out of here. We appreciate y'all hanging out with us. We were able to do a little PFF preview there at the end. And again, tonight, what we're going to do is dive into a little NFL Pro and show some of their explosive passing plays. We'll continue with the PFF preview as well. We may get into NFL Pros preview and showing some of the key insights to the matchup there Sunday night against the Seattle Seahawks. And we may get into the team rankings as well, as we'll dive into exactly where do they rank as a team offensively, rushing, passing, protecting the football, taking the ball away, everything on defense too. So I want to give a quick shout out to Brambo gifting a Packer Fan Total Access membership to a lucky viewer. Appreciate you, buddy. And Jeffrey Coleman becoming a member here on YouTube. Shout out to the Patreon group as well. Tim, appreciate your time, pal.
Thanks for having me, Clay. Looking forward to tonight, man.
All right, buddy. We'll see you guys this evening. Everybody have a great day. As always, let's go out and be the change we want to see in the world and go back.
And we go.
We're out. Bye, guys.